Hi, this is Derek from BiabBrewing.com, and today we're going to brew Northern Brewer's Dead Ringer IPA. It's an India Pale Ale, and it's a copy of the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. So first time I'm going to be brewing outside. Normally I brew inside, but because I've got 12 pounds of grains here, I'm going to need more room to get above our hood we have in our kitchen. So I'm going to give it a shot on this grill. Looks like reinforce with some steel to make sure I'm distributing the weight of this pot across the grill top here. So we're going to see how that goes, and if it becomes too heavy, we're going to have to go to plan B and move inside. So I'm going to get ready to get the water in the pot and get things going. Okay, so here we are filling up our pot. So when I'm brewing inside, I'm usually burning on a 17,000 BTU natural gas burner, and it usually can get up 8 gallons or so of water up to strike temperature in under an hour. This is a propane grill that has 24,000 BTU, so we should be going a lot quicker, hopefully, and we'll see how all that goes. I also have a basket that I like to use out here if I'm going to be putting a whole heck of a lot of grains in the grain bag. And it seems that I might need a little bit of a heat shield, so I just put a piece of aluminum flashing down here just to be sure. Okay, our recipe called for our strike temperature to be brought up to 152 degrees. We brought it up to 158 to accommodate for the grain temperature of about 72.5 degrees. So we're going to line the grain bag in the pot now. We're not doing anything really fancy here, just as anybody else would. A real large grain bag, pretty much big enough to fit the whole pot in. And we're going to use some binder clips to hold it in place. Okay, here's our 12 pounds of double crushed grains that we asked Northern Brewer to take care of for us. We're going to get ready to put them in the pot. Okay, we'll just pour the grains in and stir them slowly so you won't get any sort of clump. I'm going to do a quick stir, add a little bit of heat to help maintain our temperature. So I'm going to do a quick stir and check things out. Okay, our mash out's complete, so we're going to pull our grain bag. This is where some people use a hoist, which would be a great idea right now. It seems pretty heavy. So what I think I'll do is just pull it up a little bit so the draining slows down, and then I'm going to set it into a pan and let it finish off for a little bit. Okay, so there it is, sitting in here straining. We're going to set that aside and do our pre-boil gravity real quick. It looks like enough there. Gotta let that cool before we can read it. So at this point, let's get everything fired back up. And get us up to boiling. Okay, we've squeezed the grains as much as I can deal with. And now, we'll dump what we got in there. As you can see, this is what we pulled in. And a fair amount. If I'd have kept squeezing, we could have gotten more, but I think that's plenty. Well, it looks like we got this thing boiling as good as we can with this burner. I am not happy with it. I think that my burner inside, even though it says it's rated less, I don't know if you can see that, but actually does a much better job. So, first top edition, 3/4 of Centennial. It's game on. Okay, it's time for the next top edition. It's going to be 1 ounce Centennial. This thing's really hot. for the whirl flock. Alright, time for the wort chiller. Alright, it's time for our last hop edition. See if I can do this a little bit better. Probably wonder why it's so dark out, because this burner must not be what it's rated, because it's way worse out here. It's taking forever to get the boiling temperature, and it really screwed me up today. Okay, where our wort chiller is running, we are going to rehydrate our yeast. Here's our yeast. I boiled 100 milliliters of water and cooling it now down to the safe range for the yeast here. It's between 59 and 71.6, so we're at 77.9. So once we get this down a little bit more, then we'll rehydrate it in there. Made sure that I sterilize my thermometer before I put it in here, and I've got a spoon that's sterilizing that I can use too if I need to stir this stuff up a little bit more. Okay, here's our rehydrated yeast, ready to go. Our wort is at about 100 still, so we're just about there, ready for transferring pretty soon. You want to get a flashlight now. Okay, so we're ready to transfer the wort. So everything's been sanitized here. So here's how we ended up. We're ready to go. It's looking pretty good. And we'll just see how it goes. We'll cover it up with a towel or something to block the light, and we'll see if we get some activity tomorrow. Okay, here we are after about 15 hours. Good fermentation started. Okay, here we are at about almost 24 hours, not quite, but definitely got active fermentation. Everything's looking good. Okay, we're about a little over 2.5 days later. Just put the fermentation lock on, and everything's looking pretty good. Okay, it's time to rack the secondary. So first thing I did was tilted the carboy. I just used a little box. But going forward, I'm planning on getting a couple of those door stoppers, those rubber door stoppers that they sell at the hardware store. I think a couple, 3 of those probably do a better job. As you remember in the video originally, how I had never really measured this level. I don't know exactly how much, if I have too much or not. So we're going to find out very soon. Okay, we're getting closer here. One thing I noticed about the 6-gallon glass carboy is that I can't seem to get the angle to figure out where the auto siphon is. Usually I can push it against the side of the glass and see how far down I am so I'm not in the trub. So we did overshoot it a little bit when I added that water at the end. See, my water calculation might have been more accurate than I thought. So, we filled this guy up, pretty high based on where I am now. I'm thinking that's about 5 1/4 in there now. Okay, today's the day we're going to dry hop our Dead Ringer IPA. It's looking good over there. What I'm going to do is I've got myself a hop bag. Happen to have a new one because I needed one anyway. Some marbles in a jar. And I'm going to pour some sanitizer in here. Let this sanitize up. Squeeze that bag out real good. And then we're going to drop it into our secondary. And hopefully that cork's going to seal up nice and tight along here. If not, I'll use a different style. Okay. Everything's been sitting in the sanitizer. We'll pour that back. So the recipe called for 1 ounce of Centennial for the dry hop. I've read other people say that they could handle a little bit more. I know the beer itself, the style itself, I don't mind a little bit more in it. So there's that extra 1/4 ounce that we had with the original brew there that I'm going to toss in as well. Now the point of all of the marbles and stuff is to help suspend the bag so that it's not sitting on the bottom and then it's just not floating all over the top. So got some sanitizer all ready to go. Just set this in. Alright, I've tried a second stopper and I am just not getting any pressure out of this, although there seems to be plenty of activity here that I would imagine it would have. So I'm assuming my string is just too thick. So I don't have any fishing line, which I would imagine would be better, but here's some thread. I read this on another site. I'm going to see, because this stopper does come out pretty easily. So the risk I take, of course, is that the string doesn't hold and the hop bag falls to the bottom. I mean, that's the risk, and it is what it is. So you can thank BrewersFund.com for that. They gave me the idea for the thread. Cool. So it's been about 2 weeks since I've dry hopped the Dead Ringer IPA, and there was a lot of, I'm hoping it was just CO2 activity. That's what it appears to have been. I don't think it really was a secondary fermentation, but I was away for a couple days and noticed now that some did back up into my airlock. So I'm going to pull that out and clean that out and refill it with some new sanitizer. Everything seems to be settled back. So that's all I'm going to do at this point. It's supposed to sit in the secondary for 2 to 4 weeks. It's only been in there for about 2 weeks, just maybe a day under that. So it's got plenty of time to sit in there. So I'm just going to clear that out and clean it up, put it back. Okay, boy, those hops smell awesome. It's all cleaned up, and we're going to set this guy back in there. Make sure we got a good seal. Okay, so for the Dead Ringer, I'm going to see if I can capture some of those hops a bit I sanitized the hop bag, and I'm just going to tie it around the bottom of my auto siphon. Never done this before. I read about it though. People seem to have some luck with it, so I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to leave the other bag in there because it's going to be, I think, too hard to try to get it out. It's going to be all bloated. So our hop bag must keep getting jammed up here because it's kind of stopping and starting. I don't like the bubbles it's creating either. Well, it seems like this using this hop bag is creating a little bit of trouble for me. So I'm going to see what I can do about it. Just keep shifting it around until I get a good siphon. We'll be back when we're done. So I'm continuing to lose the siphon. It just seems to start and stop on its own. It's like every time it gets filled up, I just don't like all these bubbles it's creating. It's not too bad in the keg, but this isn't not good. So I don't know if it's this bag that's doing it or what. Let's see if this one will stay. It seems like once it starts, it stops. Try pushing that bag to the very bottom here. Maybe it's got to do with something like that. It's almost like you got to keep rocking the siphon slowly back and forth inside here. I feel like I'm doing everything I'm not supposed to be doing. Aerating. My quest for clear beer comes with risks. I'm just gonna keep working down through it till I'm done. Well, I had to remove the hop bag. It just wasn't moving, and unfortunately, well, I guess for clarity, it's not going to be as good, but it's rolling great now. So that hop bag was causing trouble. I don't know if it would have been better to have put the hop bag, inside the keg. I don't really know, but at this point, we're back moving again, and with the amount of aeration that was happening, and as much as this stuff got shook up, quite frankly, it wasn't worth it. So I think it's best just to get the stuff into the keg and purge it so I can get some CO2 in there. I don't want to take any more chances with the beer. So that's where we are. So there we have it. We got some, trying to show you with the flashlight, but there we got some hops in there. I don't know, hopefully they'll settle out, but you know how that's going to be. They never really will. So, oh well. Best I can do. What I'm doing now is I'm going to clear off my headspace. I set my tank to roughly 15, 20 plus pounds, and I just go ahead and purge the headspace here on the kegs. So set up the tank, turn on the gas, and just listen for it to do its thing. If you can hear that. Once it stops and it's filled up, then we start purging it. And I'll go through this 5 times. So here's the finished product, the Northern Brewer Dead Ringer IPA. So it came in at 5 1/4 ABV, and nice and clear. It's got a pretty good aroma, good hoppiness. Mine might have come out a little bit grassy, only because I had the finishing hops in there were just kind of in there a little bit too long. So when I dry hopped it, I didn't have a whole lot of time to get right back to it, and over time maybe it just sat a little bit too long. I'm not really sure, but overall it's pretty good beer. Like I said, it's nice and clear. Definitely happy with it. I mean, it's definitely pretty clear. So everything came out decent. A little foamy, but that's just because it's a first pull on this keg today. So that's really it. Here it is, the Dead Ringer IPA. Cheers.